everyone, and welcome back to the channel where today we are reacting to a very special trailer. This is the Hollow Knight Silksong release date trailer. We've waited quite a long time. I haven't waited as long as a lot of people have who played Hollow Knight back when it first released and has since become such a huge worldwide phenomenon. We've been waiting a long time for it. Even myself have just been stunned by the absolute silence and sheer lack of communication from Team Cherry for so long, and everyone's got their clown makeup on at every single game showcase. Everybody's like, where is it? Will it be this year? Will it show up here? Which platform is it coming out on? The Xbox showcase, the Nintendo Direct, where's it gonna be? And Team Cherry said, we're not gonna tell you nothing. Apparently, Jason Schreier has posted kind of like an in-depth article as to why it's taken so long. I haven't looked at that yet, and I haven't watched this trailer yet. So we're going to watch the release date trailer, just under 2 minutes, and then maybe have a look and see if I can source this article. So we're going to have a bit of a read-through of what the hell. I just assume it really is just trying to deliver a sequel, you know? Like, they have to feel like they got to exceed the previous game, and the expectations and the pressure would just be huge. So just spending as much time as possible. They've been cooking. We've been letting them cook. We've been convinced that it may not even exist anymore, but happily, it exists. There is a release trailer. Let's watch it. One of the things I'm excited for the most in a game like this is the music. Ascend to the peak of a haunted kingdom. We need some more of that Christopher Larkin music, man. Ah, the map. I'm not gonna look at it. Lethal acrobatic action. Don't show me the map. A vast handcrafted world. I love the designs of all of these new bugs. Battle over 200 ferocious foes. Vanquish over 40 legendary bosses. Oh man. Restore a kingdom's hope. Okay, that's crazy. Not the kissing creature. Wow, it's real. It's a real trailer. It's a real game. And you're gonna drop in September. Oh my god, you're gonna drop in like fucking less than 2 weeks. Of course you are. You're gonna go, here's radio silence. Here's some radio silence. We're gonna tell you shit, and then we're gonna release it in 2 weeks. Honestly, that's the best thing that they could have done because of so much wait. To just go, it's coming out. Here's the trailer. It'll be with you in a couple of weeks. Honestly, at that point, you may as well have just shadow dropped the game. The only other choice you had, building up hype for 2 weeks and having people aware of it, was to just shadow drop the game. Like, the game's ready if it's coming out in 2 weeks. You just be like, here it is. There you go. Could have been a Gamescom shadow drop. Let's take a look through this trailer, because this is looking absolutely gorgeous. Hollow Knight was really close to being one of my absolute favorites when I played it in 2023. And there's just I'm excited for all of the NPC characters as well as the new enemies. So over 200 enemies, over 40 bosses. I wonder if there will even be like the notion of DLC. I would honestly be so content with them just releasing A one and done. Here's the complete package. Get out of here. We don't want to work on it anymore. We've put our heart and soul into this for so very long. Because I think that the Kickstarter for Hollow Knight started around 2015. So it's been like 10 years since like that process began. With playable Hornet being like a tier in the Kickstarter. And then they go, oh, let's make this a fully fledged game. I wonder how they feel about that now. Let's have a look at what's going on here. Sting Shard, a vicious stabbing trap. We can build it. Just know it disturbs us. These devious implements you conceive to kill. Oh, it disturbs us. So we're like requesting this person to create and craft stuff for you, and they're like, why are you making killing instruments? Magma Bell. Hang on, let's take a look. What's the Magma Bell? This trinket is our own invention. It wards against the deadly lava and heat around these docks. The workers used to request them of us. Now they've lost the mind to care. And a crafting kit for a brief moment. Crafting kit. Hold on. Let me get there. Ah, the map. I don't want to see it. Oh my god, it's so crafting by claw alone produces inferior results. With this kit you can craft finer, sharper and deadlier tools, if that is your wish. There is a map. I will not look at it. And then I'll click right on the map. I don't want to look at that in detail because that is like, that's exploration. You know, I don't want to see that stuff. Brief out of context shots of everything that we see here for sure. But in regards to the actual exploration and adventure of the game, we'll figure that out ourselves. Game's coming out so soon. I love that this is like a Silk meter. Whatever the hell's going on there. This is going to be so exciting. Can't wait for the cutscenes as well. But yeah, honestly, my most anticipated thing of this game may just be the new music. I'm so excited to see how Hornet actually plays once the game is in my hands, because it looks fantastic. Like the maneuverability and agility of Hornet is just fascinating. We got like Mantis Lords 2.0. There's some really cool looking boss in here. I really like what's going on with this guy. It's giving fucking circus again. You know what I mean? Like this, the curtains and everything. The Grim Troop. Yeah, because I know that Hollow Knight got some DLC stuff. Like it got like it got Grim, it got God Home, stuff like that. So I wonder if there is anything planned for something similar, or whether it'll already be like kind of included, like they've already thought of something like that and kept it in. Riding these creatures is so cool. This is just... I'm very curious and excited about all of the unique little NPCs. September 4th. Goddamn. Very happy with that. And I'm so glad that it's coming out so soon. I'm not going to be playing it immediately on the channel because I already have like a schedule in mind and I have so many games that I need to play. And there's Metal Gear Solid Delta coming out, Silent Hill F coming out as well that I'm really interested in. And those games I'm not going to be able to play immediately either because I juggle new games and existing games on the channel at the same time. We're currently going through Lies of P, Overture DLC, and then there's also going to be a New Game Plus. So I'm going through that. That's kind of my new release in terms of the Overture DLC, and Death Stranding 2 being the new release. So I'm kind of playing both of those at the same time, and I've got existing series on the channel. But rest assured, I will be playing this very, very soon. I'll probably delay it a little bit to give people time to play it for themselves and to have experienced enough of the game where they can watch my playthrough. It's always a bit of a risky algorithm game on when I decide to post my playthroughs, if people are there to watch it or not. Very happy about this. Let's see if we can find this article, if it's even up. Okay, so we have why Silksong took 7 years to make. The highly anticipated indie game has been in production for so long that it's become an internet meme. Let's have a look. Silksong will be out on September 4th after 6 years of near total silence from the developers and enough feverish anticipation to make it the most wish-listed game on Steam. The sequel is releasing in 2 weeks. Why did it take so long? Often, such protracted development cycles are caused by mismanagement and result in painful burnout among the staff. But speaking to me last week on a video call from their office in Adelaide, Australia, Team Cherry co-founders Ari Gibson and William Palin said that making Silksong has been nothing but a joyful process. We've been having fun. The whole thing is just a vehicle for our creativity anyway. It's nice to make fun things. The lengthy production wasn't the result of development challenges or obstacles. They just needed all these years to ensure that Silksong was exactly the game they wanted to make, which genuinely does make sense. Like, that was what I was saying earlier, is it does feel like there's this element of they want to make this game and they want to make it right, and they want to rush it out, you know? It was never stuck. It was always progressing. It's just the case that we're a small team and games take a lot of time. There wasn't any big controversial moment behind it. The Silksong saga started in 2017 when Team Cherry released Hollow Knight. A Switch version, released the following year, added to the momentum. By the end of 2018, millions of fans were raving about its polished gameplay, distinct style, and impeccable vibes. As of today, the game has sold 15 million copies, Team Cherry told me, making it one of the most successful indie games ever. Initially, Gibson and Palin had planned to release an expansion revolving around Hornet, but in 2019, they announced that the expansion had grown too big and would be a full-fledged sequel. Hollow Knight had been massive, and their plan at the outset was to build a smaller world for Silksong. To ensure that the game felt as deep, they'd implement an elaborate quest system that would offer the player reasons to backtrack and revisit old locations. In contrast to Hollow Knight, which had a single town full of shops and characters to meet, there would also be multiple towns, each serving as a hub for quests. Even at that point, we were recognizing it was going to become another giant thing to rival the scale of Hollow Knight or probably exceed it. And then because of how we work, obviously the world ended up being just as big or bigger. And then the quest system existed, and then multiple towns existed. Suddenly you end up 6-7 years later. They want to go bigger and better. They want to deliver and exceed the thing. Wow, you know what's really good about communicating with people is you could have done this years ago. And then they let everyone go crazy over the internet. It's doing its own free advertisement. You know what I mean? Like, it's just everyone like constantly talking about it, freaking out over it. It makes a lot of people upset and angry though. And that's the kind of part about it that I don't really like, that it's like there's this willingness to just be silent at people getting a little bit frustrated. I think getting frustrated is an appropriate response. Getting like angry and filled with rage over it and going off at people about it and trying to like be aggressively into like why the fuck aren't they saying anything is probably a little too deep, because at the end of the day they're just working on a video game. But they could also do like, hey, here's a post once a year, maybe every 6 to 12 months. The game's being worked on for these reasons, you know. It all came down to their development style, which may have been too much fun. Gibson and Palin, who were joined by programmer Jack Vine, composer Chris Larkin, and a few contractors who helped with programming and testing, started off by designing the core gameplay for Hornet. From there, it was easy to implement and test out new ideas, even as the game grew bigger. Not exactly sure how we stumbled into a development method that is so enjoyable. Everything comes together quickly. You can see results fast. Ideas turn into something that exists in the game almost immediately before your eyes. And that's very satisfying. And that allows you to go off on those tangents and meet weird characters because someone's offhandedly mentioned a weird character as an idea and the other person's laughed, and that's enough. Which is probably how you have like the weird kissing bug that gets slapped away. You're always working on a new idea, a new item, a new area, a new boss. That stuff's so nice. It's for the sake of just completing the game that we're stopping. We could have kept going. The downside of this methodology was that it could have lasted forever. I remember at some point I just had to stop sketching because I went, everything I'm drawing here has to end up in the game. That's a cool idea, that's in. That's a cool idea, that's in. You realize if I don't stop drawing, it's going to take 15 years to finish. During the development of Hollow Knight, Gibson and Palin frequently posted game updates and talked to players. At the end of 2019, Team Cherry posted one more update about Silksong and then went silent. We felt like continued updates were just going to sour people on the whole thing because all we could really say is we're still working on it. But that's the thing, is like people are going to get sour regardless. And I think that less people would get sour knowing that the game is going along without issue. You know what I mean? Because then you have people going, is it in trouble? Is it in development hell? Is it cancelled? Like, is it just significant delays all the time? I think it started with Xbox saying, hey, every game we showed here is coming out in the next 12 months. I think that Xbox really kind of fucked up. And I think they continue to fuck up tremendously. But I think it's an Xbox going, look at all these games. I think like just over half of the games they showed up ended up releasing in that 12-month thing anyway. So that was like barely even true, which is really annoying because that set a lot of people off because they had this excitement and this expectation that it's like, oh, we're going to be playing it in 12 months time at least, you know, or like at most. And that was definitely annoying, you know? So they felt that it was just going to sour people. They wanted to be particularly cautious about avoiding spoilers. Much of the thrill of Hollow Knight came from accidentally stumbling upon secret passageways or breaking down walls to find hidden bugs. That's why I'm like, I'm not looking at the map. Silksong has plenty of its own secrets that they didn't want to detail before release. Plus, they thought Silksong would be out much sooner. Instead of popping up and bugging people for the sake of it, it felt like our actual responsibility was just to work on the game. Probably at the time, we thought we'd go quiet for a year or two, then the game would come out. In 2020, as COVID disrupted most video game productions around the world, Adelaide was able to stave off the worst of the pandemic, going months without new cases, which allowed Gibson and Pelin to continue plugging along on Silksong. And that's true. I live in Melbourne, which is a state over, and I grew up in Adelaide. And Adelaide, they just did what they were fucking told, and then everything was fine. And then in Melbourne, everyone was like, nah, fuck you. I don't care about this COVID crap. I'm going to just keep on spreading it to everyone. And that was really annoying because I was watching all of my friends from my hometown just be like, yeah, it's fine. We're not getting sick. There's no cases here. Meanwhile, we're all fucked. We're all sick. I'm getting sick. There was almost this compulsive thought that you get sick and then for some reason the bug gives you a desire to travel as far and wide as possible. It's ridiculous. And Adelaide got a little bit lucky, which was nice. Seems a little odd knowing that the rest of the world had such a dramatic and isolating period, and here we are going to cafes and having brunch. And I almost moved back. To Adelaide around 2021. Yeah, that was one of the reasons why. Silksong briefly resurfaced in 2022 during an Xbox event, which promised that all the games shown would be out within a year. Xbox doubled down on Twitter, saying it would be out before June of 2023. At the time, they all thought it was true. We did genuinely believe that was the case. There was a period of 2 to 3 years when I thought the game was going to come out within a year. So I guess there may have been Team Cherry telling them, hey, it's probably going to come out in a year. But Xbox promising that in a video game landscape that was recovering from COVID and lockdowns, bad move. The game kept growing. Silksong has more elaborate bosses than Hollow Knight, more gameplay systems, and more interactivity. Gibson and Pelin wanted objects in the world to react to Hornet's various tools, which required a ton of drawing and animation work. I think we're always underestimating the amount of time and effort it will take for us to achieve things, Gibson said. It's also that problem where, while we're having fun doing it, it's not like it's taking longer. This is awful. We really need to get past this phase. This is very enjoyable. Let's perpetuate this with some new ideas. It's kind of fantastic. I really like that they've just been having a good time making the game and it's been a positive environment for them. Like, that feels really nice to read about this game. But then the longer development lasted, the more pressure was felt to ensure everything was as fine-tuned as possible. They'd already spent 4 years on it. Why would they rush now? The more time they spent polishing some parts, the more time they needed to apply it consistently across the rest. There's a level of finish that has to be met throughout the entire game. All the way the systems interact, all the hidden work that pops up later on, it's multiplicative. As you add stuff, the process of tying it all back together just increases. Throughout development, Team Cherry remained tiny, which may have extended the production time, but also saved them from the slog of having to manage and delegate. We don't want to mess with the formula and then find out it's not fun. I used to manage teams in past lives. I don't really want to do that ever again. Staying small also meant eschewing the production practices commonplace at many game development studios. What is Jira? Gibson said when I asked if they used task management application. Is it a software? Adding that they briefly used Trello before their account was deactivated because they didn't use it enough. Perhaps the biggest reason Silksong took so long was Team Cherry never had to worry about the one thing that keeps other indie developers awake at night: money. During the production of Hollow Knight, they stayed lean, sometimes living off leftover sandwiches that their office neighbor would bring them after meetings. My dad would sometimes pop up and give me $20, and I'd be like, oh, I'm having coffee today. Thanks to their first game's massive financial success, Gibson and Pellin no longer have to scrounge leftovers. For Pellin, who has 2 kids and a third on the way, that's provided an inestimable peace of mind. And for Gibson, who said he spends most of his time at the office, it hasn't changed much. So there you go. It's kind of just like Hollow Knight success has obviously given them a bit of wiggle room and relaxation to not really pump out something quickly for a quick buck, you know? The game has continued to generate revenue by reaching new players, perhaps in large part due to the Silksong's buzz. When the studio announced Silksong in 2019, Hollow Knight sold 2.8 million copies. How insane. The game has sold another 12 million since then. That's so good. So 2.8 million in 2 years, and then in the 7 years following. In the 6 years following, 12 million, allowing Team Cherry to keep working on the sequel indefinitely without having to worry about running out of funds. We're very lucky in that regard. I don't ever really think about it that much. Maybe that's the privilege of it. As the years went on, the hype kept building. A Reddit forum dedicated to the game filled up with nonsensical blabber and made-up tweets, which users called Silk Posts, a variation of the expletive. Meanwhile, chat sections for video game live streams and Nintendo Direct events were plagued with the same feral messages Silksong when. Gibson and Pellin tuned it all out, rarely going online. They say they never read comments on YouTube or Reddit, although occasionally friends or family would send them some of the funniest ones. It's nice that people are passionate about the game and that they obviously formed their own strange or very exciting communities about it. Feels like we're going to ruin their fun by releasing the game. Once in a while, people would show up at the Team Cherry office, sometimes with their children, perhaps hoping for a Willy Wonka-type experience. Inevitably, they were disappointed by what they found instead. It's a grubby room with cardboard boxes. Their walls remain the same dull avocado color that they were when Team Cherry moved in more than a decade ago. They never even put up art. They've been too busy making the game. In early 2025, Gibson and Pellin began to see the finish line and started making plans to release the game in the fall. Players desperate for information devoured every scrap of news, like the announcement that it would be playable at a museum in September, hoping this might finally be the year. Now, what's really interesting about this is this playable at a museum. This is in my city. This is at the ACMI, the ACMI, which is the Australian Centre for the Moving Image. And it's a whole museum about animation, film, cameras, TV, games, movies, all of it. It's so cool in there. It's so much fun. And so that is close to me. And I remember reading about this and I was thinking, man, if the game hasn't come out by then and it's just playable here, then I should probably go and maybe do a video and do it. They have a Hollow Knight exhibit in there. I say exhibit loosely. They have a little section of a video game area that has sketchbooks and concept art and all of these like developer little tidbits, which is so cool to see. Like the sketches and drawings of characters and locations and the map. And that's really fun. I've shared some pictures of that in my Discord server when I visited. But because the game's coming out in 2 weeks, I might not have to go visit a museum to play the game ahead of time. Because I was thinking, man, if that's going to happen at this point in time, maybe the game will come out in like October or November or something. But that's cool. So 2025. Meanwhile, Team Cherry kept working. The shape of the game has been finalized for a while. The last year or two has been all about the details, adding small encounters, polishing everything, and tying it all together. And they're still working to finalize things until the last possible minute. With Silksong a little more than 3 weeks out, programmer Jack Vines in the background tweaking code for one of the game's console ports. Gibson and Pellin say they're very happy that the game is finally coming out, and even happier that they will get to keep working on it, which they still find enjoyable even after 7 years. They haven't burned out or shown any desire to take a break. Instead, they're already making big plans to add extra content to Silksong in the months and years to come. That is crazy. That is so exciting. So I was talking about, I wonder if they're going to do DLC or if it's going to be a complete, get it out of here, we're done, you know? The most interesting thing now is what we can add to it next. We got a plan. Admittedly, some of the plans for that stuff are kind of ambitious as well, but hopefully we can achieve some of it. Stay tuned for 2032 to see how that turns out. That is an incredible article diving into that, and it's such a positive piece. And what's really nice about that too, thanks to Jason Schreer's Bloomberg article, is it's just such a nice little piece of gaming news positivity, because a lot of these sorts of articles are what went wrong, the mismanagement, the executives, the live service push, the trend chasing, and it's this how did they fuck it up type of mentality when we get these deep dives. This was a joy to read through and to kind of share in this video, that they're just working on it and having a good time, and they're creatively fueled by what they're making, and they want to do more, and they want to keep adding more to Silksong. Like, we're getting absolutely rewarded for the wait. They just wanted to deliver something substantial and worthwhile that could exceed expectations as expectations continue to grow year after year. It seems that we'll also be treated to more stuff and quite ambitious stuff in the future. And I'm so excited for that. I knew that it would come out eventually, and I'm just happy that I get to experience this release with all of you and for existing fans of Hollow Knight. This is going to be very, very special. So really good release date trailer, really good positive news article about what's been going on over the last 6-7 years. I'm very excited to play this. I hope all of us can jump on as soon as possible. It comes out September 4th. There's going to be many of you playing it immediately. Some of you may be waiting a bit longer. I think the really positive element of indie games that have so much hype and are so huge is that it's not this like AAA, the game's like $80 to $100 now. It's still in the indie world. We've been waiting. It's not going to be massively expensive. And I'm just super excited to support the developers even further and to play Silksong. So I will get around to it. I'll definitely be aiming to play it this year, of course. I'm just glad that we have a date and that they are feeling super happy about it. Thank you so much for joining me for the Hollow Knight Silksong release trailer, a little bit of an analysis, a little bit of a discussion with the article, and I hope to see us all playing and enjoying it in the coming weeks to months. I'll see you next time, guys.